Hello and welcome to the I-80 Corridor Stakeholder Network GIS tutorial. We will explore some of the information available as part of the GIS application. As a reminder, the map works best in Chrome or Firefox web browsers. Today we'll look at the energy map and we'll look at the wildlife map. Within the energy map, there's an icon called Alternative Fuel Station Locations. The purpose of this map is to provide information on alternative fuel stations. By clicking on the map, you'll see all 4 states are represented. If you'd like to look at an individual layer or an individual fuel type, click on Electric Stations, Biodiesel Stations, Compressed Natural Gas Stations, Ethanol Stations, LPG, Hydrogen, and liquefied natural gas. Each one of the stations will show up, and each icon, as you can see, has its own symbology on the map. The Energy Infrastructure Group wanted to look at taking a trip using an alternative fuel vehicle and how far you could get. They really wanted to look at where were the gaps in alternative fuel station locations. We provided them with a measure tool, which allows them to find the distance between fueling stations in miles. Based on the range of any one particular vehicle and the type of fuel that it uses, you can chart your course for your trip and determine whether alternative fuel will be available for the entire duration of your trip. Additionally, we provided a 50-mile buffer from electric fuel stations. This gave them a general idea based on where the fuel stations were, where major gaps in the system were that might be useful for future planning purposes. For instance, if a state was conducting a statewide freight study and they wanted to determine the greenhouse gas emissions based on these alternative fuel station locations and where new alternative fuel station locations should be implemented, they would be able to utilize this map to find gaps in the existing system. Let's review what's available on the Wildlife Working Group map. The Wildlife Working Group map has information available about mule deer habitats. For instance, in this location, we've provided mule deer distributions, and we've also provided mule deer movement corridors. By knowing the distributions and the movement corridors of these animals, they were able to look at existing and proposed wildlife crossing locations. By clicking on an icon, you can determine whether that wildlife passage is planned or whether that wildlife passage has already been constructed and is existing. Additional information is available on the Wildlife Working Group map for locations where there are hotspots for strike zones. The Wildlife Working Group was able to determine, based on these hotspots, where proposed crossings should potentially be placed along the corridor. This concludes the tutorial discussing energy and wildlife. Thank you.